what chances of causing an almighty upset here in Germany for a Stuttgart side that ranked only 4th out of the 5 teams to finish 2nd in their respective groups in the last round. Nina Timmerman will take the first serve. 25-year-old Dutch middle blocker. She's having a fantastic campaign. And we're underway in the CEV Women's Champions League quarter-finals. Just when you think the atmosphere couldn't increase, the first score for Stuttgart lifts it to the next level. A break point to set the tone. Drilled down and off the defender, out of bounds for 1-1. There she is, Fenerbahçe. 5.1 points per set, killing 51% on spikes, leads the competition with 1 ace per set. But Stuttgart are not going to back down. They know they can beat Fenerbahce. They did it here in Stuttgart last season. Britt Bongarts, another Dutch lady next to serve. There's as many as 4 of them on this Stuttgart roster from the Netherlands. Bongarts the setter. And another. A couple of break points for Stuttgart early on. So Bongarts remains on serve. Best server in the German Bundesliga in 2018. Fenerbahce with the right-hand rifle to halve the deficit. Magdalena Stichak, 23-year-old Pole. So much experience on this Fenerbahce roster, but some of their standout stars are still right towards the start of their careers. Stichak 23, of course Fenerbahçe just 20, and Anina de Souza, if you prefer, only 19. A real balance. Rising stars, players in their prime, and veterans with all the experience in the world. Certainly won't be fazed by Stuttgart's flying start. Back set comes a long way, touch off the blocker. And Stuttgart back up by 2. Crystal Rivers, part of the furniture here in Stuttgart now, signed in 2018. She's led the club to their first 3 league titles in their history. And first double as well, winning the cup and the league, and the first European final. And also first back-to-back championships achieved by Stuttgart the last couple of seasons. Similar story on the opposite flank. A touch off a defender. Pattern of side-outs emerging. Those break points early on from Stuttgart got them ahead. Here goes Rivers again. Delicately over the double block for the score. And evading the diving defense from the backcourt. Crystal Rivers bringing her A game so far tonight. Her chance on serve now. Big diagonal attack fielded in the back corner. Rivers flying back. They want to touch off the blocker, but it's gone Fenerbahçe's way, and it may well be challenged. It flashes past the left side of the triple block. No challenge. No point for Stuttgart. Stishak to serve to try and get Fenerbahçe level. Can they get a first break point? And there was the swift answer from Stuttgart. Blocker's in the way, directing it down to the far side. But let's see where it lands. Fenerbahçe's score. Fine margins though. Down the line, the serve. Off the block. A chance to set right on top of the net. And beyond that, diving defence from the backcourt again. Fenerbahçe unable to get there. Stuttgart maintaining their slender bit of breathing room early on here. Reaching the first technical timeouts with a 2-point lead would be a huge achievement. Snapshots right over the top of the net. And Fenerbahçe are level. Multiple 2-point advantages for Stuttgart. Now they are gone. Rivers throwing it from one 3-meter line to the next. Fenerbahçe stiffening their defense. One hand hit, far side. Diving defender was Struber, keeping it alive, but now Stuttgart have to brace themselves, especially when she takes a swing. Arina Fedorovtseva. Well, she only turned 20 last month. She's already, and has been for a few years now, a superstar in this sport. Past the double block. And Fenerbahçe lead from 2 down, and they lead by 2 now on an ace. The captain's contribution and a timeout required for Stuttgart. From 2 up to 2 down, just like that. Well, they came out of the gates, all guns blazing, Stuttgart all pumped up. This atmosphere, these fans, the travelling fans from Turkey, really getting the adrenaline flowing. And so were the points early on for the hosts, up by 2 on several occasions, a couple of break points really early on, but Stefano Lavarini's Fenerbahçe have turned the tide pretty quickly. Fedorovtseva up. There's the set. Big hit from the backcourt coming in. And the lead is 3. And Stuttgart can't stop the bleeding. The triple block so well positioned, but not tight enough to the net. It's a long set, defense given time to adjust. Back to the same shooter, and this time a different outcome. Long Fenerbahçe streak stop, but look at those fans behind that end of the court. Plenty of them, I imagine, reside here in Germany, but so often they will travel from Turkey here as well. Ooh, she tries the sneak at the net and does not pull it off. Defense not biting on the bait. So back-to-back points for Stuttgart and back within one from 3 down. Fenerbahçe fields, gets it back off the fingertips of the blocker and down. Fenerbahçe by 2 again. Fenerbahçe with her 4th point from Fenerbahçe's 12. Stishak has 3, so those 2 superstar scorers combining for 7 out of 12 so far. Here's Rivers, who leads the way for Stuttgart and shows no signs of slowing down. That's 4 for her as well now. Bundesliga MVP in back-to-back seasons in 2019 and 2020 with Stuttgart. It doesn't matter which side she comes from. Arina Fenerbahçe, when she rises for the attack, especially with a big seam to exploit, or up against the single blocker, it is inevitable. At the top of the net and in is the call. It was close to the sideline, but Fenerbahçe have their 3-point lead back. Dug out. Down on the deck. Powerful serve. All over the top. Rivers helps it up. They're trying to turn momentum back in their favour, Stuttgart here. They've succeeded in doing so, getting into a good attack hit position. Far side. Tight angles though, and they are unable to thread the needle. Double blockers well stationed, shoulder to shoulder. So the largest lead of this first set now for Fenerbahçe at 15-11. Time to talk it through as Stuttgart call a challenge. Konstantin Bitter using the moment to try and rally his troops. First challenge of this first set. They're looking for a block touch. Certainly not one there. But the opportunity for him to use that effectively as a timeout. Well, he knows what's coming. Well, they survive it. The best server in this season's competition, the best server in the world, and she goes long. All tipped over the top of the net. Again, a matter of millimeters, but that was superbly salvaged and then finished off by Asli Kalac. Shanked reception, but no harm done for Fenerbahçe. Oh my word. A Fenerbahçe firecracker. She just blew through everything in her path. Past the triple block. Impossible for Costello to field it in the backcourt.
First of all, keep the serve pressure. It's so much and we have every ball overpass. So we have good serves until now they are a little bit lucky. So they score very well. The second thing is in our passing we need to try to bring the ball a little bit more to snap. We are too much in minus. In snap we can play a little bit more two options. Okay?
Well, there's a look at how emphatically the tide has turned. Fenerbahçe riding that wave of momentum now towards the first set finish. We said it would have to be something special from Stuttgart to win this quarter-final first leg, even at home, let alone the second leg and the tie overall. But it would have to be something special even just to win this first set now. And maybe we're in the realms of saying it would have to be something special from anybody to even take a set off Fenerbahçe the way they're playing. Remember, they haven't lost a single set all season in this competition. Body blow, deflecting to the backcourt. That was only going one way. Magdalena Stichak up to 4 points, I believe now. Fedorovtseva 7 to lead all scorers. They've only made 4 signings this season, Fenerbahçe. But they weren't far away last season, and the signings they have made have really added what they needed. Magdalena Stichak is the obvious one, but also the development of Aninia to become a key player. I think they've not even had Melissa Vargas until tonight for this Champions League campaign. Well, every little helps. A break point. They're going to need a fair few more of them. But it has been relatively comfortable for Fenerbahçe. If they do take their foot off the gas, Stuttgart will be there to pick up the pieces. Segura's serve. Team high. 9 aces heading into this quarter-final series for her. Everything behind that one from Rivers, but Fenerbahçe's defense not budging, and Aninia denied with the push block over the top. Aninia coming in and finding a well-built defensive wall. Time out Fenerbahçe.
When she chooses hybrid, you have to take out power. Stable with the legs and take out power with arms. Instead of variation on the distance, she alternates the service. After a hybrid, float. So be ready to adapt. Eu acho melhor se ela continua levantando a bola alta mais dentro da quadra. Fica mais perto, dá uma passada mais por dentro, vai para cima do bloqueio. Você pode, vai.
Stefanino Lavarini, the Italian head coach of Fenerbahçe, took over this season from Zoran Terzic, who'd spent the previous 5 years on the bench. Last season finally succeeded in breaking Vakif Bank's streak of 4 straight Turkish league titles. Fenerbahçe back on top of the domestic pile. They want to be back on top of the continental heap. They hit the 20-point mark with a 4-point lead. If you're new to the sport, best of 5 sets, first to 25 in each set, but first to 15 if we require a decisive 5th. Still some hope for Stuttgart. Right on top of the net. Point blank range stop. Far side. Bit of an awkward looking attack, but enough to get the job done. There's the celebration after the confirmation of the score towards the home team. 3-point gap is not implausible to bridge. Fenerbahçe's hot streak has certainly cooled. They've built up such an advantage. Did that get a touch off the blocker? No is the answer from the first official. So Fenerbahçe now 4 ahead, only 4 away. Stuttgart need to more than double the tally of their opponents down the final stretch of this first set. And they've got to play a perfect final stretch of this set, and that wasn't. Not a bad position to be in. Against the antenna, the attack hit. Just a matter of time now. And then Dundas. Set to the left. It's a small stitch in a wide open Stuttgart wound. Finished off neatly nonetheless by Jolien Knolmar. The top scorer now with 5 points. Bit of hang time to try and claw it down, but to no avail. Just out of bounds from Fenerbahçe. Back-to-back points for Stuttgart. A bit of belief back in this arena. This is a big point. Fenerbahçe denied. Fenerbahçe's biggest weapon just failed to hit the target. 3 straight points for Stuttgart. Back it goes. Fenerbahçe again, stopped again. Aninia, long set, far side, defense given time, attacker off the mark. Where is this coming from? From 5 down on the final stretch, it's a 1-point game. Britt Bongartz to serve. One of their best as well on the baseline. The team's second best 6 aces in 8 previous matches in this competition this season. Fielded by Fenerbahçe. She'll get it back. A couple of meters off the net. And that rattled the roof, quite literally. Fenerbahçe down with so much power it deflects up into the rafters. A rafter rocker from Fenerbahçe. And just like that, Stuttgart hope extinguished. And it certainly will not feel like an away tie for Fenerbahçe attacking that particular end where those Fenerbahçe fans are stationed. First set point goes a long way beyond the baseline. They've still got a couple more. Knolmar has to hold serve. Perfect reception right back on top of the net. They can still make the most of it, and they do, and Fenerbahce take the first set, 22-25, and did it relatively comfortably, despite a little wobble towards the finish. Arina Fedorovtseva, the inevitable star, leading the Turks to the first set of this quarter-final tie. So Fenerbahce take a one-set lead, 22-25, the score in the first leg of this CEV Champions League quarter-final. Fenerbahce 7 more points off attack hits. The defense of Stuttgart helping them out, 3 points on blocks. Fenerbahce 1 extra ace. And didn't need as many points. Erdem Dundash playing a part as well. Some big moments from the captain, including the other ace that Fenerbahce had in that first set. Stuttgart led by Jolene Knolmar with 6 points. Had 4 early on from Crystal Rivers before the points dried up for her. She tries to get back in business with a bang right at the start of the second set. Trying from this near side and eventually find a way to squeeze through. Now remember, they started really well, Stuttgart, in the first set. They had multiple 2-point leads, several break points early on. Didn't take long for Fenerbahce to turn it around though. That serve's going to travel all the way through, fielded at the advertising boards. Back over it goes from Stishak. Tandem attack, decoy, Rivers, far side. Still can't find a way through with her power. She'll back off, look to go again. It comes the other way, underhand tip from Knolmar. And then rifle down the right. Fenerbahce showing Stuttgart how it's done. Blowing the limbs off Rusa Koskela. Rivers faced by 2 blockers and downed, and 2 on the far side as well. Middle blocker moving across in that front line really well from right to left. Perfect timing and shift from Monique, or from Aslik Kalac, I beg your pardon. 1 kill block per set so far, one of the best averages in this competition this season. Backcourt hit, Aninia. And the score, Fenerbahce have turned it around even quicker in this second set. Having conceded the first point, now 3 in a row. Scraped over from the net, saved off the net though. Stuttgart can't find a way through. Rivers certainly can't. 3 times she's had big hits in this second set and been stopped by the Fenerbahce defense. That one from Stishak squeezes past, but they get it back, Stuttgart. This time a touch of finesse. Rivers off balance, pushed out by a difficult set. Now they're scrambling just to stay alive in the rally, Stuttgart. Fans enjoyed it. They love the hustle from their team, but it ultimately brought no reward, bar a cheer from this Baden-Württemberg crowd, and ultimately cheering with the travelling Fenerbahce fans. An early timeout required from Stuttgart head coach Konstantin Bitter.
A little bit more calm on the court, and we have to high ball set and we can attack. It's very important. Basics, not basics. Yeah? We are inside. We need one ball now, one side out score, and then we go. We move. Okay. If you have over the mid to the middle of the court, over the block, but like so late.
He'll be delighted with the performance of his team so far, Coach Lavarini. Stuttgart's head coach Konstantin Bitter getting the response that he wanted for that timeout. Blocker not across quick enough to cover the angle. The space hit perfectly by Knolmar. Her serve. Snap set. Ricochet because the defense not given time to get into the right position and penetrate the net. You see the snap set puts the ball low to the hitter Kalach. And the blockers are jumping and not getting up over the top in time. Well, there it is. We knew it was coming. Fedorovtseva with the ace. Wow. The whip, the direction. And up to double digits in scoring. And back-to-back aces. She is only getting better and better. "11 points already. Firing bullets to opposition bodies. They'll take it. They will take it. Having trailed by 5 points, they'll take anything. Coming in far side. And a block touch, and they disagree. Those Stuttgart players, they will challenge this call. Fenerbahce up by 5 again as it stands, but they looked adamant. They're conferring about it themselves in a huddle, the Stuttgart players. So, did you touch it? No. Did you? We're about to find out. That's one set of hands, a long way off another. No block touch. A challenge wisely used. Point for Stuttgart. Deficit back. To only 3 points now when it looked like it was going to be 5. Serve long. Actually get it back on their baseline. Break points are worth their weight in gold in this sport. Stuttgart's first service error. Fenerbahce might have had a few errors, but they've also had a series of aces. Fedorovtseva in the backcourt fielding. Far side, Aninha, the brilliant Brazilian. And Fenerbahce do lead by 5 now. Rivers determined to find a way through. She is swinging as hard as she possibly can, and that time accurately. She ends a personal drought, having started the match superbly. And Stuttgart are looking to rally back again. A key player on attack, finding the target once more. Now on serve. They have to set it from a long way off, and it hung so high, took so long to land, and Stuttgart's defense in the right position, and they're back within 2 from 5 down. Four arms pushing over the net perfectly. Rivers can serve again. And that time you see the reception right on top of the net, makes it far more difficult for the defense. But Rivers with a right-hand rasper, almost single-handedly pulling Stuttgart back. She goes down the line again. That time the long deflection, no chance, but they've given themselves a chance now in this second set. And Crystal Rivers rediscovering her range and rhythm. And starting to look lost, down by 5, now just a 2-point game. Good reception right on top of the net, twisting set. Pinball on the Fenerbahce side of the floor, and a miss hit. And Stuttgart within 1. Segura to serve as well. Joint 14th in the competition for aces coming into these quarterfinals. That's a fabulous hit from a long pass. They'll save it, and perfectly right back to the net. Incredible trajectory, but finished off by Eda Erdem Dundaş. Several actions measured to perfection in that rally, including the final one by the Fenerbahce number 14. And you're looping. Rivers exploding, and doing so with pinpoint precision again. She has come to play here in the second set. Can Fenerbahce do what they did in the first set and find a way to nullify her threat? Well, they themselves have. There's Arina Fedorovtseva in fabulous form. 12 points for her now. Rivers, that one, no run-up. Did well to drill it that far and try and force the Fenerbahce defense back, but ultimately to no avail. She makes it look so simple sometimes, finding those holes.
Okay. First, again, with Anna Cristina in system situation. A little bit more deep. She's just spiking here, nothing here. With Fedorovtseva. She's just going here. We need to have 2 players here and one also a little bit more deep. You go too much up. Yeah? Okay, let's go.
I think they've stopped bouncing since long before the first serve. They've got plenty to bounce about with this team this season. They're looking to make it 20 sets won from 20 sets played here in this second set. And they lead by 3. Adam Dundash, well received, right back on top of the nets. Still doesn't stay on the opposite side of the floor, but too heavy the final hit from Fenerbahce. And Struber's big downward swipe. Enough for Stuttgart to get back within 2. Signed this season after 4 years at Dresdner. Monique Struber, the 22-year-old. She won the Bundesliga title as a teenager in 2021 under Konstantin Bitter as an assistant coach. Bitter's also brought a couple of players with him to Stuttgart from his last team. He spent the last 2 years as head coach of Schwarzweiß Erfurt. He's brought Karina Glab, 23-year-old setter, and Vera Mulder, 23-year-old opposite, with him as well. Crystal Rivers now up to 7 points. Stuttgart back within 1. Jammed off the block by Magdalena Stichak. She was a runner-up in the Italian league with Milan the last couple of seasons before making the switch to play in Turkey this season. A handful of Fenerbahce players won the Nations League last year with Turkey, as well as the European Championships, of course. Magdalena Stichak, Pole, was at the age of 23 the best scorer at last year's VNL, best outside hitter at the Euros. So not enough for Fenerbahce that they already had several Turkish talents who excelled in those international competitions. They went and recruited another from a different nation. Fedorovsova, best server back at the Tokyo Olympics at the age of just 17. She's since won that award at the Euros, the Club World Championships, and in this competition, and in the Turkish league in both of the last 2 seasons. It's an incredible list of accolades, individual honours for somebody still, and having only just turned 20. Stuttgart very happy to see the back of her on the baseline. Back within 1. Fedorovsova's turn on serve is done. So the door opens to try and complete the comeback perhaps. And they are back level from 5 down here in this second set. Monique Struber on serve. Having a fantastic season, the 22-year-old. That one sticks on the other side of the net after the failure on the previous rally. Does that drop onto the floor? It does. So Fenerbahce nudge themselves back ahead. The angles and dimensions kind to them on that particular occasion. Backs it all the way across to Rivers. It's a long set. The 2 blockers in the way, and Rivers clenched fists in celebration. Aninia denied. Stuttgart level again from 5 down. Anina, this time off the top of the block. Rivers from the backcourt. Left-hand touch over from Segura. Anina again in a static position. Rivers down the pipe. Stopped at centre. Off balance, Segura. Fenerbahce now a chance to turn it around. Far side, Anina long off the block and good for the score, but boy did they have to work for it. Well, listen to the cheer from the Turkish fans. Melissa Vargas comes in for the first time in this competition this season. The 24-year-old, as talented as anyone. She had a career year last year, Vargas. Won both MVP and Best Opposite awards in 3 different competitions. The Turkish League, the Nations League, and the European Championships. Bringing home gold each time. Segura's serve. Can Stuttgart get ahead from 5 down? Rivers. Dug out before it left a dent in the floor. Blockers high and hanging and well over the top to direct it down. Heda Erdem Dündar has been doing it 4 years. 36 years of age now. Just as good as she ever was. Rifled all the way through by Knolmar. What a talent she is. 9 points now. She's the second top scorer in this quarter-final tie behind Fenerbahçe, who's got 13. Talk about fighting fire with fire. The respective top scorers of the 2 teams. Fenerbahçe says to Knolmar, you're going to get your 9th point, I'll have my 14th. Multiple ties for Stuttgart from 5 down, but yet to get ahead from that deficit. Rivers long off the top of the block, good. And they're back level again. Rivers now has 9 as well. No real frontline defense on that occasion for Fenerbahçe. Bongas, the setter. And there it is. Back with a bang. Melissa Vargas arrives on the Champions League scene. Best scorer in this competition as a teenager in 2019. Now 24. Dircher, veteran setter, back in. Vargas has gone to the bench. Now, Fenerbahçe succeed in breaking the pattern. That is a significant point of this second set. We've been alternating between 1 point Fenerbahçe leads and ties. Stuttgart take it back to 1, but if they want to tie this time, they have to do it with a break point. She keeps on coming though, Jolien Knolmar. Up to double figures now to lead her team. Slice dealt with well and returned with interest. Dug out from the backcourt though. Fenerbahçe. all the way through for the tie again. Wonderful rally. Stuttgart looking for a wonderful comeback, back level. And Knolmar having a remarkable set. And then serving into the net. That's something we've not really seen in this quarter-final. This team have not committed too many service errors. Now they face Arina Fedorovtseva's serve. 3 aces already. Well dealt with, Rivers. Up high from Fedorovtseva. Pushed far side, down on the diagonal. Rivers again, jammed off the block, good. And Stuttgart are level. (22-22), both teams 3 points away. What belief it would give Stuttgart to take this set. Remember, Fenerbahce haven't lost a single set in this competition all season. Yannick Struber. Off the top of the net. And a slice of good fortune that might end the Fenerbahce 100% streak. From 5 down, Stuttgart lead here in the second and are 2 points away from becoming the first team to take a set against Fenerbahce this season.
Our target has to be to attack. I don't care about perfection of the pass. We need to attack. We also have the middle blocker in service, and we can use this situation in defense. But we are closing shots now. We don't keep thinking. Sometimes there is time to alternate kind of shot and to be ready in cover. Bye.
Are those fans about to feel something they haven't felt for a long time? A set that goes against them. Struber on serve again. If she succeeds with this one, it's 2 set points for Stuttgart. Received well, right on top of the net, but the blocker's there! A monster block for Stuttgart. Stishak stopped in her tracks. And Stuttgart within touching distance of one of the sets of their season. Back-to-back timeouts required from Stefano Lavarini. 2 set points for Stuttgart. (19 straight sets won for Fenerbahce this season. Can they bring this one back from the brink? That's a long set from the back corner and a long hit. And Stuttgart have slayed the streak. Or have they? Well, there's a challenge. There's discussion of a block touch. We're seeing the point go for Fenerbahce, but I think the call is the other way around, and there is there a wiggle of the finger? Yes, by the finest of margins, by a fingernail. Fenerbahce's 100% record this season remains. Now they have to do it all over again. Still set point for Stuttgart. Take 2 for them to try and get it done. And this time Fenerbahce have to do it on their own serve. The pressure piled upon Asli Kalac. Best server in the Turkish league back in 2016. Kalac over the net. That's the first hurdle. Hit down the line. Is it wide? Did it get a touch? It's just wide. And Stuttgart have come so close, but not succeeded. 2 set points saved by Fenerbahce. There may yet be more to come though. Lean forward serve. Rivers far side, stopped. It'll come back again, this time down, and maybe third time lucky for Stuttgart. Set point number 3 for them. And score for Timmerman. And Rivers, their standout superstar, on serve. The attack comes on the diagonal. It flashed past and went wide of the corner. And Stuttgart, now they think they've done it, but they will be made to wait. Oh, it's all so close. Everything down the finish of this second set, so close. It's out. And Stuttgart become the first team this season to take even a set of Fenerbahce. Their aura of invincibility is no more. This quarter-final tie is very much on. Stuttgart take the second 26-24 and tie the first leg at 1-1. Look at these second set stats. Again, better on attack, Fenerbahce. Blocks even, one more ace. But look at the opponent errors. That was a problem for Fenerbahce in the first set as well. One that they comfortably overcame. But an even bigger disparity in opponent errors points in that second set. A +5 for Stuttgart. Enough for the 2-point win. It is a club on the up. 3-time and reigning German champions. They were only founded actually in 2007. Won their first German Cup within 4 years. A couple more in 2015, 2017. Then a first Bundesliga championship in 2019. The first ever domestic double 2 seasons ago. They're only 1 win away from a treble actually, because they lost to Eczacıbaşı, another Istanbul club, in the CEV Cup gold medal match, their first ever continental final. And last season they went back-to-back in Germany for the first ever time, retaining their Bundesliga championship. They finished 5th overall in this competition. They've never been past a quarter-final though. They played 3 previous quarter-finals, Stuttgart. They lost their first one in 2019 to Novara, Italian opponents. And they went back again in the COVID cancelled season, didn't get to play the quarterfinals. And then last year got back to the last 8 again and lost to Novara once more. So Fenerbahce actually only the second opposition that they've played in a quarterfinal. Wasn't the best start to this pivotal third set for Stuttgart. But that is as cool as you like to get them on the board. A quarterback sneak from Britt Bongartz. They'll serve now. They'll save as well. To be helped over on the final touch though by Rivers. So now Stuttgart defense at the mercy of Fenerbahce, who restore their 2-point edge. A point from Asli Kalac. Doesn't miss from that position. They might have this considerable early lead. They might have Fenerbahçe firing on serve again. But Stuttgart have spirit and talent and wind in their sails at some point in each set. Remember, they battled back the first set, came close. They battled back the second set and won it. They have to come from behind again here. They're looking for a foot fault. There is none. Quite clearly Fenerbahçe behind the line. Just served her fourth ace of this quarter-final. We're only at the start of the third set, but that one goes long beyond the baseline. $15 points now for Fenerbahçe as the top scorer in this match. Aninia out of bounds off the block. 3-point lead back. 8 points for Aninia. Level now with Stishak as the joint second top scorers for Fenerbahçe behind Fenerbahçe's 15. Remember, points off opponent errors, a key factor for Stuttgart so far in this match in their favour. Fenerbahçe serve into the net. That serve reception shanked. Stuttgart not pouncing on the errors that time though. Rivers stopped at point-blank range. And Fenerbahçe by 4. They lost a 5-point lead in that second set. Now they know they're not invincible. Surely they won't make the same mistakes. Timeout called by Stuttgart.
When the set was inside, she was outside of you and reaching like this over, so you can try to use her more block out on the line when the ball is inside. Yeah, good. Come on, let's go. Here we go back, allez, up.
They're dominant in terms of attack efficiency. And their attack hits 45% to 30%. And you see the reception percentages as well in Fenerbahçe's favour. Stuttgart, though, with defence that has flustered. Edging it on blocks, but forcing plenty of errors. Many unforced from Fenerbahçe as well. It's not just a Fenerbahçe team that came here perfect in this competition, but they're actually on a 25-match winning streak in all competitions. 19 of those 25 wins in straight sets, including the last 6 in a row. The other 6 wins out of the 25 have come in 4 sets, so they haven't been pushed to a 5th set since the opening few games of their season. They started this season losing the Turkish Super Cup in 5 sets to Vakifbank, and they also lost just their second game of the league campaign in Turkey in 5 sets to Eczacıbaşı. Those 2 5-set defeats only made them angry. 25 straight wins since. 19 of them in straight sets, the other 6 in 4 sets. What chances of Stuttgart forcing a 5th set in this first leg of the quarter-final? They did win 3-2 here against Fenerbahçe last season in the pool stage. Down 5 though again very quickly. They brought it back from this deficit in the second set. Now they're going to have to repeat those heroics here in the third. That's the start. Segura, the Spaniard, to serve. The third top scorer this season, 2.8 points per set. And how about the ace? Back-to-back points from Stuttgart, and they're at it again. Nine aces the first 8 matches for Segura. How about one more? So second of this quarter-final tie. Fenerbahçe into her in a nice position. Blocker's not pushing over quick enough. Bit of a gap as well to exploit. It was off the left hand of the right blocker. Not angled tightly down. And the ace from Eda Erdem Dundash, perhaps to kill the comeback early on. Fenerbahçe back within 5. Back-to-back points for them now. Restoring their third set superiority. Rivers didn't get the run-up she wanted, but got the adjustment she wanted. Crystal Rivers has been hot and cold and then hot again over the course of this contest. 11 points the first 2 sets. Fenerbahçe. Defensive door slammed in her face. Monique Struber going from strength to strength. Was best blocker in the Bundesliga last season, playing for Dresdner. And Stuttgart are back within 2 now. How about another? Struber getting the better of Fenerbahçe.
If you can play blockout, we don't have only 2 options every time. Quick in going out on this trajectory, play for the center of the court. Girls, we have to do more.
This is not what he's been used to seeing. Stefano Lavarini. The hosts in front of these fans, raising their volume in response to those Turkish fans. Seeing their team make a theme of it now to come from 5 down. 3 straight points here. A block out of bounds to end that particular streak. For Stishak. We had 8 across the first 2 sets. Right back towards the baseline though. Stuttgart trying to reignite the comeback. Stishak short. So it's a 1-point game again. There is some fight in the Stuttgart team. Another error from Fenerbahçe. Fenerbahçe being stopped on both sides now. Stishak found a way through. Past the double block. Over the top of Struber. Beyond the libero. Fenerbahçe's serve. Pure power. Dealt with by Koskela. And they turn it into gold. Off the dig. Rivers squeezing one. The serve misguided. But they believe, don't they, Stuttgart? Only their third service error to Fenerbahçe's 8. Rivers. That time, Stuttgart's top scorer stopped. Defense playing a big part in this third set. That one on the way down from Erdem Dundaş. Koskela, a huge part of that defense for Stuttgart, but Fenerbahçe getting the point that time. At their 5-point lead, close to 1 in this third set, but it's up to 4 now. Stishak stretching that right arm, guiding it superbly. Timeout.
We have too much confidence. We just stay around. The hand more, we need to cover, okay? You think you have the line, but she's reaching for the line when you think you need to get more over the block short.
They have retaliated with a run of their own now. 3 straight points to take it from 1 to 4. Kalac continues on serve. Former best server in the Turkish league. It's a long set. The blockers adjusting, celebrating before the job was done. A little premature. Again, there's that fighting Stuttgart spirit. Ultimately the point with Fenerbahçe though. The confirmation of the replacement there. Ivana Vanyak has come in for the home team. Fenerbahçe making a change as well. Vanyak, 28-year-old German outside hitter, actually spent last season in Turkey. Tandem attack far side for Fenerbahçe on the slice. Perfectly orchestrated. Now 5 their lead, tying their largest of this third set. Oh, that one shanked over the top. Powered down, saved though. Rivers helps it over. Dangling by a thread, the defense of Stuttgart on this rally, and that threat snipped by the spike. It just had to be hurt. perfectly angled on the diagonal. 6 was the largest lead of the third set, even larger than the one they threw away in the second set. Back to 5 now. This would have to be an even more impressive comeback from Stuttgart here in the third. The 5-point lead for Fenerbahce in the second did come late on. Now it's 6 though. Surely they won't make the same mistakes. Static hit from the 3-meter line. Rivers responding in kind and with more power. Here she goes again, reloads and hits the target. They will not lie down, no matter the deficit. That really doesn't help. Fenerbahce should take the lead again in this quarter-final first leg. Erdem Dundaş to serve for Fenerbahce. If the captain could come up with one here, it would be a big one, and it is. Quite simply a legend of Fenerbahce. Erdem Dundaş, at the club nearly 16 years. She's helped them to all of their domestic and continental success in such a golden era, including winning this competition back in 2012 for the first time. Could she help them do it again 12 years later? Precision and power from Alexis Hart, young American who's coming off the bench. It goes the opposite way this time. It's a long set, Fedorovtseva. Now they have to brace on defense. Fedorovtseva getting up. But the backcourt defense beaten. It is not over yet. Fenerbahce just need 3 more. But they're not coming as fluidly as they want. The seed of doubt has been planted. Certainly by that big block from Knolmar. Fedorovtseva unfazed by the Stuttgart comeback attempt. She is racking up a big tally. Off the top of the block, this time saved in the backcourt. Fedorovtseva looking to attack it over the top of the block. Great length, great technique. And Fenerbahce have a great team, but Stuttgart are doing all they can to make it tough for them. This is Buse Unal coming in off the bench to serve. They've got a whole pile of set points now. This would have to be one of the great comebacks from here for Stuttgart. Bongarts capable of putting together a streak on serve, but Fenerbahce have so many good receivers and so many good finishers, and that one will finish the third set and put them back ahead in this quarter-final first leg. Magdalena Stishak with the score, and Fenerbahce shake off the disappointment of losing a set in this tournament this season for the first time, recovering to win the third and take a 2-1 lead in this quarter-final first leg on the road here in Germany. They do it with a scoreline of 25-19, their most dominant set so far. We'll see if they cut out the errors. Not quite, but they forced more on Stuttgart. Stuttgart still with a +3 in points on opponent errors. But Fenerbahce dominant in the attack statistics in each of the three sets, and look at the blocks in their favour. Just ahead of their city rivals from Istanbul, Vakifbank and Eczacıbaşı. Completely aced the pool stage in this competition. 18 sets from 18. Looking to stretch a 25-match win streak in all competitions. That's a good start. And trying to see this one off in 4 sets. It really was heartbreak for them in this competition last season, Fenerbahce. Actually had a disappointing pool stage, only went 4-2. One of those 2 defeats against Stuttgart here last season. The goal was to win the pool, but they eased through their playoff round last season and also won their quarter-final. Then it came to the 2-legged semi-finals. And what a remarkable story it was. In an Istanbul derby against Vakifbank, they won the away leg in straight sets, but remarkably lost the home leg in straight sets. And then lost the golden set, 15-12, to miss out on the grand final. Vakifbank going on to repeat as champions. Well, Fenerbahce, who ended Vakifbank's streak of 4 straight Turkish titles in response last season, need to end their streak on the continental scene as well. It had been a 5-year drought for a Turkish league title for Fenerbahce until last season. 4 straight titles for Vakifbank and 1 cancelled season due to COVID. Fenerbahce weren't used to going that long without silverware. And powers through both lines of defence and gets Fenerbahce level. After Stuttgart had made a positive start. Top scorers then from the opening 3 sets of this contest. 21 points for Arina Fedorovsova, averaging 7 a set. Here she goes again. She's not going to slow down here in the fourth. She wants to seal it. She's a top scorer this season, averaging 5.1 points per set. But here in the quarterfinal, upping her level. 7 points a set. Behind her, another 3 scorers already in double figures for Fenerbahce. 13 for Magdalena Stishak, 10 each for Aninia and Erdem Dundash. Over the first 3 sets, Stuttgart led by 14 points from Knolmar and then 13 from Rivers. There goes Rivers again. That's a misfire from her. Aninia to serve. The team second best 4 aces in the pool stage. Helps put her team up by 2 here in the 4th set of this quarterfinal first leg. And a serve forcing the Stuttgart defense back, and now she gets another go after the score from Erdem Dundash. Get that one to drop onto the baseline. 19 years of age though. At the club since 2021. The role on this team is growing. Her reception. Long pass. From one flank to the other. Measured by Buse Unel. 2 setters for Fenerbahce shared that role fairly evenly in the pool stage. Buse Unel, the number 18, and Bojana Durcha, the number 17. The performance of the team didn't really alter depending on which setter was on the floor. It's another nice set from Unel. Fenerbahce start to create a bit of a gap here. We now have the 8th best setter efficiency in the competition coming into this quarterfinal, 45.5%. Durcha, the 9th best at 45.1%.
To stay inside the game, it's the small things. You receive tight to the net directly, you move in front to help and the ball is coming. Yeah? Then, when we tip, you can tip on high ball deep to the line in 1, over the defense player when they come in front now. Yeah? Then, when you go inside, you have to stay more out. They push tip long, they don't tip short. Yeah? You are too short.
Konstantin Bitter calling that timeout to try and stop Fenerbahce's momentum. It's now a must-win set for Stuttgart. In this first leg, Rivers answering the call from coach. Stopping the Fenerbahce run. Crystal Rivers, the 6th best scorer in this tournament, coming in 5.4 points per set. She's averaging around about that here in the quarterfinal. Stuttgart are back within 1, back-to-back points off the back of the timeout. How about the duck to get out of the way that time? Stishak has to push it over. Now a chance for the tie. Rivers got it. From 3 down at the timeout to level. A couple of excellent pieces of offense from Rivers and 1 excellent piece of defense in between. off the top of the block, a chance to turn it now. Rivers for the lead. Crystal clear off the back of the timeout. 3 of the 4 points coming from Rivers. From 5-8 down to 9-8 ahead. Timeout Fenerbahce now.
After one miss, the ball after, nice, comfortable, and we play. Doesn't have to stress us so much. We had a ball out like this, no problem. We keep playing. On high ball from 2, join the block because he's trying more block out. On the quick ball, we can risk little more and staying little more.
They're looking to carve out a reputation for themselves of comeback kings, Stuttgart. They've already produced a take-notice set in this quarter-final tie. Can they do it again? A big rally, but not the way they'd want to finish it. Leaning backwards, trying to recover that one, Struber from behind her. Fenerbahce can only serve into the net though. Stuttgart back ahead. Again, if you're new to the sport, Stuttgart could win this second set. They will take it to a 1st to 15 decisive 5th set. And that is what they are looking to do with their defense. From 3 down in this 4th set to 2 ahead. Knolmar, who's starring for them. Back set. Fedorovtseva dug out. Fenerbahce have to go again. Fedorovtseva has to go again. Not often she's denied twice in a row. Rivers buries that one. Stuttgart by 2 again. And they've got a 2-pronged attack that's really bringing its best to this quarter-final. Knolmar and Rivers. And Stuttgart lead by 3 from 3 down. No team has taken a set of Fenerbahce this season until tonight. Stuttgart are looking to take 2. Rivers up high. Tandem attack against the block, pushed over by Struber. It'll come back again. They keep on knocking on the Fenerbahce door. Rivers high into the sky, down clinically from Kalach. But they made Fenerbahce work hard. It's an error from Rivers. Right on top of the net. Kalach punishing. Rivers jammed off the block. Kalach is set. Diagonal was down and accurate. And Fenerbahce are now looking to fight back themselves. Elsewhere tonight it's finished in Łódź, Poland. First completed quarter-final leg this season. And Allianz MTV Volley Milano with a 3-1 win at Łódź. It's also finished back in Istanbul in a game that started half an hour after this one. Vakifbank Istanbul, the defending back-to-back champions, have been beaten in 4 sets by Italian Conegliano. They were the previous champions. So they had a quarter-final series between champions of the last 3 editions, and Conegliano coming out on top. It's a huge win for them. The last quarter-final gets underway tomorrow in Istanbul. Eczacıbaşı against another Italian opponent, Scandici. And so Vargas hoping to help Fenerbahçe recover this one after they'd led by 3 and then trailed by 3 in the 4th set. And she was part of the block. Vargas alongside her captain Erdem Dundaş. Poetry in motion, the push, the penetration, the point. Fenerbahçe level from 3 down now, 14-14. Pipe bomb exploding on them though from Rivers. Crystal Rivers with her 18th point. She's become the main weapon again after Knolmar carried the offense for a while. Knolmar now has 14, Rivers is up to 18. Knolmar back in. Over the double block. Vargas. Anemia rather making a meal of it. And Stuttgart have a little bit of breathing room again. Here in a setter, not on the same wavelength. Just sliding past it. It's a shank serve reception as well, but does it bounce onto the line? No. Just wide of it. And Stuttgart have their 3-point lead back. Remember, they have arrived here in form, Stuttgart. They might have only been a second-place team in the pool stage, but that's because they started slow. Then they create a 4-point lead. Vargas says no. Stuttgart arriving here with 17 wins in their last 18 matches in all competitions. Certainly not to be taken lightly. This is 2 informed teams, 2 heavyweights now on the continental stage trading blows, and Stuttgart by 3 looking to force a 5th. Fenerbahçe have the history, the talent, the pedigree. Stuttgart are getting closer to them at this level. Vargas stopped by the block. And Stuttgart lead by 4 as they look to take 2 sets off previously flying high Fenerbahçe. Timeout, Stefano Lavarini.
Select the shot when it's not a perfect situation, some close shots. Now we have middle blocker in defense. Point by
does not look happy. What a run. 5 of the last 6 points coming from the home team. They certainly do look happy. No matter what happens from this point on, they have got their money's worth tonight. Now Fenerbahce have to try and do a Stuttgart. And that's a start. Stuttgart trailed by 5 around this stage in the second set before winning it. Fenerbahce were down 4. Close the gap to 3. Need of the captain's contribution from Erdem Dundaş. Twisting set off the 3-meter line. Rivers denied for once. Letting her own bit of defense on the baseline, but only sending her teammate right into the cameraman. Just about putting the brake on at the right moment before breaking the lens. Break point for Fenerbahce. Can Erdem Dundaş instigate another? They've halved the deficit to 2. Not far too long, and she looks up at the rafters and roars in frustration. Vargas stretching, hanging, and just about getting it done. They will slip and slide and fight for every ball. Now it's Melissa Vargas's turn to serve. Well left. And they're getting closer. All Fenerbahce have succeeded in doing off the back of the timeout is putting together a run of back-to-back points. Nothing more. Fedorovsova. Just feed her. 27 points tonight for Fedorovsova now. And she has the ball in her hands on the baseline. The best server in the competition. 4 aces tonight. Rivers off the block. Dive from the libero. Back set. Vargas could only jam it against the defense. The gate had opened for the comeback, but Stuttgart quickly locked it by the sheer presence of Segura at the net. Snap set, quick response, back within 2 Fenerbahce. But they need to hold serve. Kalac with that score. They're running out of time to put together a run though. Can Kalac herself do it on serve? Rivers buries it inside the baseline, over the block, beyond the backcourt dive, and Rivers hits 20 in style. It's such a vital moment as well. First serve, Stuttgart need just 2 more points to take this first leg all the way. A scramble on the Fenerbahce side of the floor. Big opportunity, big deflection. Can Fenerbahce make it a big turnaround in this rally? They start to shift momentum a little bit. Double touch off the block, deceiving the backcourt cover, and Stuttgart have 4 set points here. These fans in Baden-Württemberg are witnessing a potential classic. Shanked reception. This has to be their moment. And it is. They've taken 2 sets off previously perfect Fenerbahce. They came from 5 down to win the second. They've come from 3 down to win the fourth. And they're looking now to hand Fenerbahce their first defeat in 26 matches in all competitions. Stuttgart take the 4th set 25-20, and this one is going all the way to a first to 15 fifth. Again, an advantage in attack hits, but the blocks have disappeared for Fenerbahce that helped them win the 3rd set. Marina Fedorovtseva, but they have been unable to put Stuttgart away. 13 each for Arminia and Stishak, 12 for Erdem Dundash and 11 for Kalash. Now we go to a first to 15 fifth. Quite remarkable what we've already seen here tonight. Previously 18 sets played, 18 sets won. By Fenerbahce tonight, 4 sets played, only 2 sets won. And each and every point now in this set is worth that bit more. The first one goes to Stuttgart. With a serve into the net from Struber. Her serves have been a key part of Stuttgart's attack so far. Fenerbahce must be feeling the pressure. Great position, great outcome for the home team, Alina Timmerman. Stuttgart 2-1. Blockers not in tandem. Rivers to serve. 20 points through the first 4 sets for her. And how about hitting 30 for Fedorovtseva? A 30-point night for the talented 20-year-old. The unparalleled 20-year-old. Setabuse Unal to serve now. The 5th set locked up at 2-2. A few running repairs required. Seven aces to 5 through the contest in favour of Fenerbahce. 4 of those 7 aces coming from Fedorovtseva, with a 3 from Erdem Dundash. That one was nowhere near adding to the tally. Well, Has not been in this position, Stefano Lavorini, since the second match day of the Turkish league season, when they lost 3-2 to Eczacıbaşı. They've not played a five-setter since then. They're level at 3-3. In between that five-set defeat on match day 2 of the Turkish league season and tonight, 25 straight wins for Fenerbahce in all competitions. All of them in 3 or 4 sets, the majority of them in 3. Fedorovsova. Can't add to her 4 aces. Instead, it's returned with interest. Eyes locked on the prize for Stuttgart. Clawed back and in by Stishak. Stuttgart with 1-point leads. Fenerbahce with points to tie the pattern so far here in the 5th. Kalac's serve. Kept in on the sideline. And Fenerbahce break the pattern. They're able to get a point on their serve and take their first lead of the 5th. Kalac to succeed and turning it in their favour. Knolmar finding a way through though. The number 10 prepared to duel with the biggest number 10 star there is. Fedorovsova might have 30, but Knolmar's had a big night as well. And that was a big hit. The towering presence of the ever-present and the evergreen Erdem Dundaş. And the ace, right on cue. Right the way through from Stishak. A huge moment of this 5th set. Fenerbahce lead by 2.
On their break point, we take the ball back. Go good, bring the ball in front and then stay high. It's good, it's good, it's good.
As we've been saying through the course of the contest, as we've learnt through the course of this quarter-final first leg, do not at any point write off Stuttgart. 5 down to win the 2nd set and 3 down to win the 4th set. They're 2 down here in the 5th. With a timeout, spark another comeback. Rivers gets it off the block. And the ace to tie. The timeouts of Konstantin Bitter are working like magic. His team are at it again, level again, believing again. And they are ahead again. Rivers sending it over. It did not return despite Fenerbahçe's best attempts. 21 for Crystal. A change of ends. And who would have thought that Stuttgart would have the edge at this point in proceedings? Fenerbahçe back level, 8-8. The last Fenerbahçe defeat came in mid-October. That's too long. Got a touch, did it? It did, so Stuttgart are ahead, 9-8. 17th of October, second round of the Turkish league. They lost 3-2 at Eczacıbaşı. They've won 25 straight matches since. Rivers chasing it almost off the floor, almost into the crowd. Over the head it goes. They're feeling unbeatable, Stuttgart. Sensing this is their night. And Rivers got it. With hustle and a hit. This has become an epic. It could be a seismic win for Stuttgart.
We have to find better quality and better connection to score, because we had 2-3 balls for attacking. Bravo them that they fight on the ball. Keep fighting on the ball. Don't close attack and be ready, cover it. Normal volleyball. Be brave. Right. In the shot, keep being aggressive.
Look at that run. 5 points in the last 6, from 2 down to 2 ahead. They're 5 points away from handing Fenerbahçe their first defeat in 26 matches. It's in! They have knocked the confidence and belief and judgment of their talented Turkish opponents. That aura of invincibility lifted with the second set win. And Stuttgart have the bit between their teeth here in Baden-Württemberg. 3 the lead. Fenerbahçe all over the place. This would be a huge point. Far side, pushed over. They keep on coming. Rivers. Long off the block. Opposite flank again. And through and down. And a 4-point lead. Stuttgart are leaving Fenerbahçe in their wake. The Turkish team have come completely unravelled. It will be challenged to see if it was in. And it was in. And these fans can get an extra cheer. They can't believe it here. This would be one of, if not their greatest ever victories. Given the stage of the competition, a stage from which they've never been further, the level of the opponent, The odds stacked against them, but it's far from finished. A big block for Fenerbahce to close the gap to 3. Fenerbahce haven't tasted defeat in any competition in more than 4 months. Rivers, powerfully down, well defended. Fedorovseva, they need their superstar to step up. She's stopped though. Rivers blocked. Fedorovseva. How about doing it on defense instead? Back-to-back points to halve the deficit from 4 to 2. Timeout, Konstantin Bitter.
Okay. When you have again high ball, try to spike more to 6 in the seam of the block. Yeah? Not here, not here. Middle of the door for the seam of the middle blocker. Oh, let's go, right on.
Keep going.
Pressure applied in a big way. Can Fenerbahce rise under that pressure? Stuttgart not feeling the pressure, just feeling the flow. They're 2 points away from winning the first leg of this quarter-final. Crystal Rivers to serve. 22 points for her tonight. Fedorovseva. It comes back from Rivers. Opposite flank this time. Off balance hit. They'll scramble around to try and save it. Fedorovseva. Really just trying to keep her team alive. And Stuttgart have it. They shut down Fenerbahce's 30-point superstar. And the tip good from Vanyak, having just come in off the bench. Timeout, Stefano Lavarini.
Line of block is setter, Vanyak from 4, use direction, and remember in transition on her attack, timing and approach, more deep cross than sharp cross.
Four match points for the underdogs, the 4th best second place team from the pool stage against the very best team from the pool stage. Rivers serve, shanked, touchdown! Stuttgart in a stunner. Mission impossible completed. Nothing impossible for this stubborn set of Stuttgart stars. They end the 25-match winning streak of Fenerbahce. They hand the turn the first defeat in any competition in 4 months. Just look and listen and take in these scenes. 23 points from Crystal Rivers, 16 from Yoli and Knolmar, but it was a team effort with their defense, with their desire, with their heart and with their hustle. An absolute classic against a team that hadn't lost a single set through the first 6 matches this season, against a team that had won 25 straight matches in all competitions coming in, against a team that hadn't even been forced to a 5th set in any of those wins.